Hello everybody, welcome to Ageless Rock. Today, we are going to pay a visit to a historical site which is the pride of Iran, where every Persian would be excited to show you how great their nation was in the past. But if you are wearing megalithic lens, you will be able to see more than just an ancient city. Approximately 2400 years ago, there were kings who were regarded as kings of kings in Persian history of the Achaemenid Empire. They had a capital called Persepolis, where in Greek language Persis means Persian and polis means city. The old Persian name may have been called Parsakarta, which means city of Persia. At Persepolis, everything is megalithic. It is so megalithic that I wonder why it is related to Takhte Jamshid, who is a mythical king found in Shahnameh, which is an epic poem written by Ferdowsi. It goes to show that Persians didn't create this, because if they do, they would have credited it to those people, and the knowledge of bedrock tombs and megalithic tombs for great imams and mighty pillars for palaces would have been built all over for mosques instead. I think the Persians had no clue what it is and subsequently call it Takhte Jamshid, which means throne of Jamshid. This is an incredible place to construct, knowing that about 2500 years ago, the Persians had limited tools and technology to deal with bedrock. But yet they are here. 3 megalithic tombs and a city on a platform where everything is made of stone. Let's start with the first tomb, which is said to be the tomb of King Artaxerxes III. His success stories include launching a military campaign against Egypt and victoriously reconquered Egypt. He defeated Pharaoh Nectanebo II and suppressed the rebellions during his tumultuous years. King Artaxerxes III is said to have reigned from 358 BC to 338 BC. That means we are looking at a monument about 2400 years old. But this monument has no inscription and cannot be verified beyond reasonable doubt. In fact, there isn't any dead body found. Since archaeologists credit this tomb to him, he is said to be the figure on the facade, which otherwise would have been just a priest on a 3-step platform, facing the fire altar with a sun disk on top, while facing Ahura Mazda in the middle. Based on this old photo, I found a rather strange tool mark or damage mark on the top of the monument. It appears to be an accidental cut by a huge tool or a machine we are not familiar with. Archaeologists are typically not keen to ask how it was done, because everything was done by hand with chisels. In another old photo, it looks like this monument was sliced at an angle and therefore made the monument less perfect. If it was not done by nature, then someone must have done it. If humans could not have done this, then who did this? This machine cut is probably the best clue given to us, hidden in plain sight, that there was a machine or tool that has never been made available to us in our civilization. It is not a crack because it is too straight, and both seem to be at the same angle. To make matter worse, the damage seems to cut at the neck of Ahura Mazda. This masonry is very strange to me. If you look at this monument from an aerial view, you can see that there is more work to remove the amount of bedrock than to carve a facade and a hole. The amount of rubble is probably what was used to make a 4-step platform. These steps are really high and cannot be used for climbing up unless you are a giant as tall as the cedar tree as described in the Bible. Inside the tomb, there are 2 rectangular holes. One is further inside while the other is just at the niche. That is good enough for me to know that this is not a tomb of a king. I am not sure what archaeologists say about the second hole. So, which one is for the king? The inner or the outer? Is it because one is for the king and the other is for the queen? If that is the case, then it is equally odd that they were not arranged in left and right position. This niche with two rectangular holes that comes with lids has nothing on the inside. There isn't any inscription anywhere to say it is a tomb. Is it possible that for such a colossal undertaking meant for a king with historical achievements comes with no inscription and no clue what it is? Let's check out the second tomb known as the Tomb of Artaxerxes II, which is about 370 meters southeast of the tomb of Artaxerxes III. He was the son of King Darius II, also known as Artaxerxes Mnemon. Artaxerxes reigned from 405 BC to 359 BC. His reign kick-started with instability, and his conquest of Egypt was his highlight of his achievement. Although this tomb is credited to him, it is good to know that there is no inscription that says so. What a strange conclusion of a tomb for a great king. When the Europeans arrived at this site, you can tell that the Persians themselves neglected it for reasons we have yet to know for sure. It was buried and was not in a very good shape due to weathering. What makes it so puzzling to me is that the locals were not able to give a definite answer to its existence and wasn't interested in excavating. Much of what we see today is after excavation and restoration that took years to finish, and the history of its glorious past is based on the Western narrative that ancient Persians were once busy hewing bedrock, turning them into tombs, but intentionally left out the simplest and most important thing, which is inscription describing what it is. At a glance, you can tell it has a very close resemblance to those megalithic tombs at Naqsh-e-Rustam. But instead of a cross-shaped facade, it is like an upside-down letter T. It has the typical feature of a man in front of a fire altar with a sun disk above it. Ahura Mazda emblem is in the middle between the man and the fire altar. This photo has something else interesting. It is a stone box, which archaeologists would love to call it a sarcophagus. It is outside the monument and doesn't seem to have any purpose. This stone box is in front of tomb of Artaxerxes II, and there is an old photo of the stone box, which I believe it is the same stone box based on the damage on the top side and the surrounding stones it is leaning on. But the label says it is a reservoir at Naqsh-e-Rustam, which is approximately 8 kilometers to the north of Takht-e-Jamshid. In a close-up view, you can see that there are mysterious protrusions on the right side. These protrusions are the trademark of megalithic culture you can find all over the world. There is absolutely no reason for them to leave the protrusions if their intention is to make the wall look smooth. Since this is a tomb, the man is identified as Artaxerxes II. Otherwise, it would have been identified as the priest. But without any inscription or anything to assume, we cannot be sure if this is a depiction of King Artaxerxes II or just a Zoroastrian priest. This tomb dedicated to King Artaxerxes II is highly suspicious to me. The top right corner is a corner that doesn't seem quite right. It doesn't look like what human would do with chisels and hammers. It looks more like a machine that sliced the bedrock like clay. You have to wonder, if this was done by ancient Persian tools, then how did it end up like this? The inside of the tomb is again without any inscription and is rough like unfinished project. This niche looks like any niche you can find at megalithic sites. With two rectangular holes front and back, this is hardly a king and queen scenario, which is more likely to be left and right. It is not something I would conclude it as a tomb, knowing that this is a common feature at megalithic sites. The tombs at Takht-e-Jamshid is a stupendous work of carving out bedrock that forms a triangular front before anything can be done. It is a project so gigantic, humans would think twice and still say no if all they have is ancient chisels. But yet, this is a very common feature of a megalithic culture around the world. This triangular block removed is a common feature at megalithic sites. There are many in India, and I'm showing just Vishvakarma Cave number 10 at Ellora Caves in India. In China, there is also an equally impossible architecture of this triangular facade at Longmen Grottos in China. When you compare architecture of the same kind and see that there is a pattern in similarity, then I think this triangular block removed was for religion rather than funerary purpose. Longmen Grottos in China is related to Buddhism. Ellora Caves in India is related to Hinduism. And Takhte Jamshid is related to Zoroastrianism. Well, that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this short presentation on the tombs at Takhte Jamshid. See you in the next video and have a wonderful day. This is Berniong signing out. Khotah Hafiz.